We've been discussing the Trump administration issuing buyout offers to millions of federal employees yesterday. You know, it came with a caveat, though. Those who don't resign will be called back to work in person 5 days a week. That's in line with an executive order issued by Trump on his first day in office, mandating fully in-person work for most federal employees. Now, the push away from remote work, it's just happening across the board, especially since the peak we saw during the pandemic. Just under 14% of Americans worked fully remote in 2023. As you see on your screens, that number's now down to about 18% in 2021. For more on this, let's bring in Julia Pollak. She's a chief economist at ZipRecruiter, joining us from LA. Thanks for getting up so early for us. Should we expect companies to follow suit after this federal mandate? Because this was such a big debate during and after the pandemic.
Well, return to office mandates certainly have a way of hogging headlines. But if you look at the numbers overall, remote work is about 5 times higher than it was before the pandemic and flat. It isn't going anywhere. We have seen some movement to the middle, to structured hybrid work, which is now sort of the dominant kind of mode of operation in most companies. But about 30% of companies are restricting remote work at the same time that about 30 are moving in the opposite direction and expanding it. This may change things in the DC area, where there's a very high concentration of federal workers, with other companies feeling less pressure to offer remote flexibility now. But over much of the country, we expect remote work to stay fairly constant.
It's fascinating to hear that hybrid work remains popular and continues to spread. How are you seeing it being implemented, though? Because some employees report that there's a bit of a hierarchy where the more senior or more favored people are permitted a hybrid, loose hybrid schedule, where those further down the hierarchy or less, senior are being told to be there 5 days a week. How is it playing out?
So in the big companies that have announced return to office mandates, what has frequently happened is that companies have revised those mandates within a couple of months once they've realized the cost. There's a huge recruitment and retention cost to forcing people back into the office 5 days a week. And what typically happens is that a company announces a policy at the top, and then they realize that that means losing some of their best and brightest. And when that happens, when people say, I can't do this, it doesn't work for my lifestyle, quickly managers figure out carve-outs for those favored employees, and they create exceptions. That can be corrosive to the culture in a company if it feels like there are different rules for different teams, different rules for different employees.
Yeah, such a good point, and really great to have you join us on this topic. It's not even 5 a.m. where you are in LA. Julia Pollak, we really appreciate you getting up early and joining us today.
Thank you.